Hello there and welcome back to Laurence Plays for part 2 of my chat with the Cackling Fiend, the creator behind the Lignumis mod. Last time we had a bit of a chat about some of the unexpected things we've done and how his mod works with some of the other ones out there. Now let's go on and chat about some of the other features of the mod and see what else he's got to say about it. The next thing I was going to talk about Lignumis was the noise pollution mechanic, which I think I really like it because it's so different from the pollution on any other planet. It's a completely unique and novel idea, and then having it being blocked by walls because it's just noise. It's so different, and I really like that. So I'm a fan of that. Is there anything you'd like to say about it, or should I just say yes? I like that. I like that point to move on.
Yeah, I had that idea quite early to make it like real noise, but technically it's not possible to make it behave like a wave that travels forward. And the main reason is that you can set how much pollution should spread every second, and that number is limited to I think 25% because it goes in 4 directions and is divided equally amongst those directions, so 25% is the limit. And if you want it to behave like a noise wave, then you need basically 100% and only in one direction.
Oh, I see.
Clearly
Okay,
doesn't
so
work.
you wanted a machine to emit noise in a specific direction.
Yeah, or I don't know. I wanted to move it to the next tiles, and then the tile where it is coming from should be empty afterwards. But that's not possible.
And I feel that as it is, it works quite well for a sort of, because it's updating really quickly, as is shown here by the flickers around the outside.
I had to find another solution for what I wanted to achieve, and I realized by increasing the numbers to ridiculous amounts, I achieved something that is quite close to what I wanted. So the numbers are very high compared to Novus, regular vanilla pollution. Yeah, that's why it looks very fast because the numbers are so high. So the rocket silo, if you have modules in it, it can go up to 100,000 pollution per minute, and you don't have that on Novus. You have numbers like 10.
Right. Okay. So it's producing absolutely enormous amounts, but also then it's also absorbing absolutely enormous amounts.
Yes. So I increased all the numbers so that the small distribution of the pollution still makes it so that it looks like it's traveling really fast. Okay. But actually, it's not. It's just the big numbers.
That's interesting. Yeah, I say it's from a player point of view. I found it as being intriguing, and just the idea of having noise pollution, where it's the actual sounds of your factory that's upsetting the natives, was a nice idea because it felt different from blasting CO2 into the atmosphere or covering the place in spores, or all the other sort of the normal pollution mechanisms we're all used to, and of course noise pollution being a thing that we're aware of from real life. I thought it was just a really nice idea, and going in and trying to and then some of the active noise cancellation would then make sense because of that idea as well.
That's just a gimmick because walls are so strong to keep in the noise. I mean, it was a funny idea, but I also use it for the rocket silos, but it's just a gimmick. But you could argue that why have a new kind of pollution? Because in the end, it's the same as the normal pollution on Novus.
I think the big difference is that your pollution is blocked by walls. So that, yes, the fact that it does the sort of the quick spreading thing doesn't really make any gameplay difference. It gives it a different feel, which is quite nice, and so I think it's worth having because of that. But the big difference between this and Norvian pollution is that you can keep it all inside by just putting up some big acoustic walls around the outside of the factory. So I think that is a valid thing to say. It does have a different feel. If this was Norvis, we'd have had to push back all of these wrigglers all the way around the edge to some quite wide distance because the pollution would just be spreading outwards. The Norvian equivalent would be, I suppose, you put a big glass dome over the entire factory to keep the pollution in.
Yeah, that's an aspect that I realized not immediately. If you have a different kind of pollution, then you also, technically it's the same, but because the meaning is different, you add the pollution to different buildings in different amounts, and it's kind of a mechanic to move people into using certain things or play in a certain way. So it's different from if you log the cargo drops from space. you force the player to play in a certain way. If you
Yeah.
have a pollution that tells you, okay, if you do this, you can do it, but if you do it, you have to deal with the consequences. So if you use a machine that is very loud, you can do that, but you will need to deal with the noise or the enemies. So it's a mechanic to move players into playing in a certain way
Yeah, I think
without
perhaps
forcing them.
because I don't tend to concentrate on combat all that much in Factorio. I guess I've tended to play in a without particularly difficult biters, and therefore I've not had to worry too much about pollution. I've seen people playing on some of the really dangerous mods where they've deliberately built up a factory using where they put efficiency modules in all of their mining drills to make them produce less pollution, that sort of thing. And I've never really worried all that much about pollution. Yes, I've gone out and I've defended the pollution cloud, and I've put in enough turrets and walls and things that I can deal with whatever biters come in. But I have to admit, I've never really let pollution levels affect my designing process. So I don't think I even particularly thought about it. I imagine on here the agricultural towers are pretty quiet. I'm trying to find the noise production stat on the side there, and I can't see it. Oh yeah, 75 a minute. Whereas
they're not so quiet, but because they have trees around them, the trees absorb some of the noise.
Okay. Yeah. Whereas a mining drill is very noisy. A lumber mill is actually not as loud as I was expecting it to be. Having listened to the buildings and the amount of noise they actually literally make, but I was expecting them to be louder. But yeah, the mining drills are of course very loud, which is what you'd expect. Oh, yeah, and assembly machines are pretty quiet.
One aspect that I didn't see at first is that if you don't keep the sound inside your walls and it reaches the enemies, then the numbers of the wrigglers spawning is so high that you cannot really play like that. So you are indirectly forced to keep the noise inside your walls, because it will just escalate so heavily that you cannot defend that, not realistically.
That's interesting, because I did notice that when we left and the place did get sort of attacked and overrun a little bit, we did have a lot of wrigglers coming in. But yeah, I hadn't really thought that's a good point. So presumably it's because you put the numbers of the pollution numbers up so high. It means as soon as it touches on their bases, they produce an enormous number of enemies, and so you're saying you'll get the really big attacks coming in. I'm gonna have to have a play with that, knock out a chunk of wall, and see how many wrigglers come in and whether we can deal with them.
I even heard people having UPS problems because of that.
Oh wow. It's lucky I've just upgraded my computer then. Oh yeah, and one of the things I quite like about this mod is the amount of effort that's gone into. Well, the art is all good. That everything feels like it's been properly drawn and works nicely together. There's a lot of extra sound design in here. So if I zoom in, I can hear the chatter of the birds in the trees. He says, looking at an area that doesn't have any trees, and then there's the noise of the sawmills and so on. There's a lot of nice sound design in there. Is that something that was a deliberate decision, or was it something, or did it just sort of? Was it something that just sort of came together quite naturally, or from somebody else's mods?
I didn't think that much about it. I mean, it just seemed natural to add at least some music.
Oh yeah, the music is another one. Yeah, there aren't very many of the mods, the new planets, that have their own music, so that's really nice. Yeah. And I noticed that because I go in and I try and find the appropriate music for the planets when I'm doing the videos for them. So when they actually have some, it's really nice.
I decided to add music quite early, but added it quite late because it's not really changing anything gameplay wise. So yeah. I first concentrated on getting the planet done, and yeah, adding the bird noise. I did that after I realized, okay, there are certain types of sounds you can add. They are called ambient noise or ambient sounds, and on Novus they're used, for example, to add the wind noise. Yeah. And I thought, okay, if they have a wind noise, why not add like birds? It fits very well for this planet. And
there's a little bit of bird noise on Novus as well, but yeah, it's definitely a lot more on Lignumis.
Yeah, so yeah, just felt natural to do all that. And yeah, of course, the lumber mill, that's another topic, because we have a Hurricane doing a lot of 3D art for us modders, and he's only a 3D artist, so he's not a modder, so he didn't do any code or add sound to his models. And yeah, as a modder, I thought, okay, this is really nice. Like he did the lumber mill very early, and I was, wow, I need to use this.
It is a nice looking building.
I had to write the code for it, and I thought, okay, this cannot be just a quiet building with no sounds at all. So I went to, I think, SoundCloud or some website with free sounds, and just I looked at the Foundry from you get on Fulgora, and I read about how they made the sounds for that in the FFF, and it's really nice how it works. And I thought, okay, let's have a look at that and try to make something for the lumber mill. And in the end, it worked really well. So
Yeah, I'm glad you did. It is really nice. There is something on this planet. I can't remember what it is, but there's something on this planet that sounds like a gun firing, and it kept getting me paranoid. I think it's the lumber mill when you're zoomed out a bit. It's sort of the whir of the blade sounds a little bit like the chatter of gunfire.
Maybe it's the chopping.
Maybe there was definitely something that kept making me go, we're under attack. No, we're not. It's just the lumber mills or just the mining drills or something like that. So that was entertaining. Yeah, I got used to that fairly quickly. As you were saying earlier, that once you let players loose on your nice, pretty, innocent mod, we're going to go in and do horrific things to it.
There's one detail. When you set up the first plastic production.
Oh yes.
I watched you struggle with it, and I thought, like, okay, this is not so difficult. You have played Space Age before, and you know spoilage mechanics. So why are you struggling with that? And I had quite some fun watching you set that up.
Oh, I was thinking of something else. I was thinking because I went in. I missed the recipe for making plastic in the Lignumian way. I went in and started trying to make it the Malunan way because I'm a muppet apparently. So there was that.
I think I hinted you in the right direction in the chat.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know.
Also, you standing with personal laser defense next to the enemies and needing ages to clear a nest, and I was like, come on, man, you have better weapons from Novus. You can basically just walk through with proper weapons from Novus. So
I think that was me being stingy. I didn't really want to expend the ammunition because it was an effort to bring it over here. I want to say at that point we didn't have an enormous amount of launch capacity on Novus, so using it to bring over green ammunition, which you can't get that much into a rocket. It's
25, I think.
Rocket capacity is 25, 25 magazines, which is not very much. So I was being quite stingy with that. Even the red ammo is only 50 per rocket. So in hindsight, yes, I should have just brought over better ammunition and just blitzed through everything. But I was being stingy.
In our multiplayer game, when I came back to clear out some nests, I brought like a tank with the maximum amount of weapons and all shiny and high tier and with a lot of damage research. And then I realized, okay, I'm actually faster walking because the turning rate of the tank is so bad that and you clear the nest so fast that it doesn't really give you any benefit using a tank. So I just went on by foot and cleared the nest, like a few seconds per nest, and you're done.
Yeah, Tristan because of that. Tristan did most of the clearing. When we came out and did the most recent expansion, I think Tristan did far more of the clearing than I did because I was faffing around with PLDs. I think he had more of them as well. He was just being a lot more efficient than I was, which is how we managed to get this area down here freed up quite so quickly.
I'm still waiting for people trying out artillery on those ridiculously weak enemies.
Yeah, I suppose a single artillery shell would wipe out quite a lot of the egg rafts, wouldn't it? And then take out any enemies that were in the area. Yeah, I guess even by our standards, that just feels like overkill. So we haven't bothered.
Yeah,
it hasn't been necessary. Next question is: do you think the scope of our build on this planet is reasonable? Have we built out to a sensible, I guess, a sensible size, a sensible level? Are we producing all of the things you'd expect us to be producing? And I was going to say, and not producing things you wouldn't expect us to produce, but we've already covered that the exporting blue circuits and exporting Cupra Vidas are slightly surprising things to be doing.
I've seen very different sizes of bases, and you're more on the bigger side. When you first started, the size of your base was quite big compared to other players. Even bigger than what I do, probably, and I tend to play with increased science cost multiplier. And the only thing that I was surprised of was you not using the lumber mill for everything. And I was like, okay, if you don't use the lumber mill here, you need like 10 times the space of the lumber mill for the additional wood production.
I think when we got started, it was because making the lumber mills is quite expensive. It takes a lot of lumber to make a lumber mill, and so you need to plan ahead a little bit, or at least think about the future a bit more than we obviously were, because we'd put something in that would be working, and then we go, okay, if I want to upgrade this, obviously the lumber mill is better, but if I want to upgrade to the lumber mill, I need to get 100 pieces of wood or whatever it is. Let's have a look.
Yeah. So what I was more surprised of is that how small a base can be, and you still manage to finish this planet. From what I've seen from other players, so a base can be really small. And it can be a really short experience if you like it to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. I suppose if you concentrate on just leaving the planet as soon as you possibly can, then you can probably get it done fairly quickly. And we were a little bit surprised that we essentially finished the planet within our first stream, but I think at that point we hadn't realised just how powerful throwing 5 people at one planet is going to be, because we basically finished Fulgora in the same in one stream as well. So it's not saying that Lignumis is too small, more just that we hadn't realised at that point how quickly we were going to be able to get through stuff if we actually put our minds to it. Because I think, back when we played space exploration, we were all on different planets, so each individual planet's progression was about the same speed. The overall game progression happened at 4 times the normal speed, of course, but but each individual planet would go at about the expected speed. So we weren't used to that sort of massive increase.
Yeah, so it was my intention to keep this rather short experience because it is all burner and early game. Personally, I love the early game. I love the burner phase, and I also love playing Industrial Revolution. That also has an extended early game.
I enjoyed the burner phase, but I was also glad to leave it.
Yeah, and I think if it's too long, then no one will like it, and that's probably also true for me.
Yeah, we've got some artifacts of our burner stage over here. Where
it should be short.
It
should be a short experience. And was my idea, okay, if you add like an extended early game to your playthrough, you should have the benefit that the start on Novus doesn't feel like doing the same again. So you need to have some kind of quick start on Novus after leaving Lignumis. And that's why, you have the rocket capacity for the wooden rocket. So you can bring all the goodies from Lignumis, even the lumber mills. So the time you spend here, you can basically skip that on Novus.
Yeah, that makes sense, and we definitely did bring a load of stuff over. I mean, it was wooden belts, and it was the very basic assembly machines and so on. But that was still enough to get us a good kickstart on Novus. So we weren't working on through the burner phase in quite the same way that you do in a vanilla game. So yeah, I think that worked well. All right, here's a slightly loaded question. Last one in this section is: did we do the mod justice, and did we represent it well?
Yes, better than expected, actually.
Excellent.
I was quite pleased how positive you were about the mod, because I know some people are not that positive because of the wood requirements later on. You seem to not care or even like it, so yeah, I was positively surprised. And I was also surprised that you actually added the hot metals mod. It's really just a gimmick, and I didn't want to go anywhere with the mod. People had ideas to have some kind of hot metal production lines.
Oh, so making steel is easier if the iron hasn't cooled. You mean that sort of thing?
Yeah. But I never made something out of that. It's just didn't take the time, or I didn't have the focus. Yeah,
I think we added in hot metals because it's fun, and having the metals coming out of the machines already sort of in a hot state, and having to think about that is it's quite nice and sort of realistic in inverted commas, and it adds in a little bit of extra flavour. And then so here it made absolutely no real difference, because the gold bimbles along the belt. By the time it's got to about here, even when the belt's running at full speed, it'll have cooled down. But then over on Vulcanus we ran into a thing where these gears were coming out, but they were going up this belt so quickly that they were still hot by the time they got up to the belt production at the top. So we've had to put in these cooling systems where they're put into a chest to cool down before they're unloaded onto the belt. So we had to think about that. But then on the spaceships, you can't put in a chest for them to cool in. So we've ended up with things like, I think there's a belt here that has a loop in it, so it will take out the iron plates when they're cold, but the ones when they're hot will be sent up this belt to go round the loop again and get an extra chance to cool down before they're actually passed out into the factories at the bottom. So it's created a few extra things that we weren't really expecting when we added it, and that's quite nice, because you get the emergent gameplay from mods doing things that you weren't really expecting them to when you first implemented them, and I really like that sort of thing. So I think it's worked well for that, and I'm glad we included it.
Yeah, I also noticed and find it nice that you play the game in a quite a similar way than I do. Also, you added the crushing industry, and I also played with that. So your mod list is not very different from my mod list. So that was something nice.
That's good. Nice. Yeah, I suppose yes, if we're playing with similar mods, then it's probably going to work in roughly the same way you'd expect, and there aren't
Yeah.
too many horrendous surprises.
Yeah, I also had to, or wanted to, add support for the crushing industry. So gold being crushable is compatibility code between these two mods.
So is there a lot of that sort of thing? I mean, I've noticed there is. I gather that there is a Discord server that all of the Planetary mod authors are on, and so you can share some ideas and sort of try and make sure and communicate with each other to make sure your mods are going to play nicely together. So I guess that's there isn't really a question that.
There are more mods that have explicit compatibility, like loaders. You can have wood loaders. I only support AAI loaders, requested also other kinds of loaders, but I was lazy. You can also play AAI industry. I'd never really played it myself, but I made it compatible.
Yeah, so yes, it's nice when the mods work well together, and you can see that some effort has been put into the compatibility and making sure that everything just works nicely together. And I'm glad that seems to be happening. Otherwise, something like this Planetary Pioneers run would be absolute chaos with all of the different mods probably not working together very nicely. Okay, so actually that brings us on to it quite neatly onto the next question, which was excluding your own mods. Do you have any mods that you'd like to that you recommend that you particularly like that you want to sort of give a shout or that you want to give a shout out to?
Are you talking about planet mods or quality of life?
In general, sort of, is there anything that sort of struck you as being particularly nice, particularly good, something that you really like and think we should be looking out for?
I just like that there's so many planet mods, and some of them are really nice. I didn't play that many yet. That's why I started the multiplayer server. I'm not prepared for that question.
Okay, no problem. If you don't, I'll just remove it from the edit.
I really liked Moshine with the AI cores and the exponential scaling of the research speed or research time, and the modules that also scale exponentially. So like the next tier of research needs 10 times longer, but you get modules that make your machines 10 times faster.
Oh, nice. That sounds interesting. We haven't got to Moshine yet, so I look forward to finding out about that one.
That was a little spoiler, but I like how other planets add like completely new ideas. Like I do it myself with my mod, and other players do it in different ways that surprise you, and you think, that's a nice thing to do with. For example, you talk a lot about the spoilage mechanic and other mods, and there's so many different ways of using that. It makes mods really interesting, and I'm also surprised by other mods using mechanics in new ways that I didn't think of.
Yeah, I agree. I do really like that. There's so much imagination, cleverness, and just everything being different, as you say. It's really good. Where can viewers find your work? Is there anything else you'd like to sort of put a bit of a plug in for? Any other mods you do? So you've mentioned the hot metals and obviously Lignumis. Is there anything else you produce that you'd like to give a shout out to, and is the best place to check you out on the Factorio mod portal?
I mean, you can just click on my name and you will see all my mods. I think there are not so many mods that I'm the original author of, so it's mostly Lignumis and wooden themed mods and the hot metals. Otherwise, it's mainly that I migrated a lot of mods from 1.1 to 2.0, and that was mainly because I wanted to make the Atom mod pack playable again. And there are around 20 mods that I had to update. Currently, I'm not adding new content to that mod pack, but I don't think it needs new content. But the Atom mod pack is something really big. The other big thing I work on. Yeah, that's about it. I have ideas for an overhaul mod, but I'm not 100% sure I will find the time for that now.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's a big job producing a full size mod pack.
Yeah. I mean, it took me like 1 month to get the first beta of Lignumis and several more months to make it polished. So it's quite a lot of work.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the time out to have a bit of a chat with me. It's been really nice talking to you and getting some feedback and getting your opinions on the mod and how we've been treating it and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, thank you very much, and hopefully this will be the first of many other mod author interviews to come.
Yeah, thank you for your stream and giving me some indirect feedback via that, and thanks for making this video.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks very much, and I'll talk to you again later. Bye.
Bye.
And thank you to you as well for watching the video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you'd like to check out Lignumis for yourself, you can find it in the mod portal, along with all the rest of Simon's mods. It's a great way to start off a Space Age Plus run, and of course it's the starting point of our Planetary Pioneers mod. We'll also be streaming it every Monday at 7:30 PM UK time, and I'll be doing an additional stream on Wednesday of another game all on my own. There will of course also be videos coming out every Thursday and Friday on the channel, so please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on anything. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.